Welcome to the driver's seat. We are in Midway, Utah, and the launch of the much anticipated, long awaited 2022 Nissan Frontier midsize pickup truck. It's been 17 years since Nissan has redone the Frontier, so it's very long overdue, much anticipated. 2 years ago, they gave us a new engine, kind of a unique engine for the North American market, a 3.8 liter V6. And this has a class-leading power at 310 horsepower, more than Tacoma, Colorado, Ranger, you name it. It's made it to a 9-speed automatic transmission, and really impressed with it. This is the Pro 4X, which is the top-of-the-line model, and it's the one that's made for off-roading. You're going to have 17-inch wheels, which I think is the right size for this truck. I like how they're relatively flush with these fender flares. I like the headlights. Basically a very chiseled, muscular look, a very beefy looking truck. And what you see here is going to cost you about $43,000. There's also a Pro X, which is the two-wheel drive version. That's probably going to be about 30% of the Pro 4X X sales. And I think that would be a silly mistake to make. Why save $2,000 or so when you're going to get that money back? It's one of the few options you're always going to recoup, unlike something like a sunroof. But anyway, 17-inch wheels, again, that's the right size. Nice and flush with the fender flares. You got the chiseled look. Really everything about this thing. The 9-speed automatic transmission works great. We took it off-roading. We showed you some footage of that, and it performed wonderfully. A lot of things to talk about the inside, which we'll get to. The bed is very functional, so they're really focused on utility, on style. You know, people that buy mid-size trucks, it's not about towing. This certainly does not have class-leading towing. It's less than 7,000 pounds, but it's about hauling and it's about off-roading. You know, it's about putting your motorcycles or bicycles or some kind of payload in the back, and it's about going off-road and having fun. And this really, really hits the mark. Nissan expects to sell about 70,000 units a year. I think they're going to do much better than that. Maybe 100,000 units. It's a great segment. It's a growing segment. You know, these full-size trucks, they're getting so hard to park. Now, what you have here is the crew cab, which is going to be the higher volume of the two body styles, and with the crew cab you're going to get the shorter bed, the 5-foot bed. You can get it with a 6-foot bed as well, but that becomes a very long truck. You know, Nissan was one of the first to have this Utilitrack system. It's a great system. You have 3 rails and you can move things around, so it's great for tie downs. And then you have additional tie downs down here inside. Just a very clever design. Lightweight bed. You have 3 skid plates with the Pro 4X, which is great. A mix of one is steel, a couple are aluminum, and overall the vehicle just rides great. I can really see this on the road. I could see this giving Toyota a little bit of a challenge. One of the things that Toyota's still doing is standard. They have drum brakes in the rear. You have standard disc brakes. That's just one of many ways that this has advantages over the Tacoma, which is really what Nissan benchmarked. And I don't blame them. You want to benchmark the best. Now, Toyota's got a great following, but so does Nissan with the Frontier. We'll see how much market share they can actually steal away from Toyota, or maybe they'll just bring new people into the segment. A lot of people are realizing that crossovers are nice and whatnot, but they just don't have that ruggedness and also the utility. You can't get a crossover really dirty. You can't put a lot of stuff in the back, and because you're going to have carpet back there, whereas trucks still have their place, and I think Nissan is in a really good place in the market. Nissan's done a tremendous job on the interior. It doesn't resemble the outgoing model one bit, and that's how it should be. I mean, when you're doing a complete new model, which is what this is, they could have probably changed the name, but that wouldn't make a lot of sense. But the technology, standard Apple CarPlay, for example, on Android Auto, the 9-inch screen, 7-inch multi-information display, and they just really nailed it. You know, they've had a lot of time to study the market, to look at the competitors, and so they had to get it right. This is an important vehicle for them, and they did. They nailed it. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, and but I like all the vehicles in this segment. The Ranger's nice. The Tacoma, of course, is the segment leader. Colorado's done a great job of really pushing Tacoma and you know, in many of the models that in the trim levels. And so I think there is definitely room for another player. Nissan has that heritage of what, you know, about 60 years of a heritage of making compact, now mid-sized trucks, and it's a great time for them. I mean, this is long overdue, but I think they did a great job. So talk a little bit about the zero gravity seats, which are very comfortable, much more comfortable than what you would find in a Tacoma, probably the least comfortable seats. Even the Colorado, we recently spent about over 1,500 miles in one, seats were not that comfortable. Seats in this vehicle are very comfortable. I like the seating position, I like the seat comfort, really everything. They just studied the market and wanted to get it right, and they did. So you have to give credit where credit's due. Don't really have much to complain about. Pricing has not been finalized, and to me, that's always the ultimate. Fuel economy, 19 on average for the four-wheel drive, 20 on average for the two-wheel drive. That's on par. I mean, the Tacoma doesn't even get that good of a fuel economy, and so if you look at the the front fenders, you see this black plastic that looks like it should be a cutout for a vent. And when they tested it, they realized that it was creating too much turbulence and reducing the fuel economy. So they kept it, but they made it solid. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying that they made a mistake, because it's still a styling cue, but it's just one example of something they were trying to do, didn't work, but they were able to turn it into a plus. As you can see, it's a lovely interior. There's our Apple CarPlay. They did a nice job with the buttons. You know, Nissan's really stepped it up with the quality of the buttons and the switches and controls. The multi-information display is at 7 inches. It's nice and large, and came in really handy with the off-roading portion, the hill descent control, and showing us the angles and whatnot. The cameras are great. We're not going to see it now because we're over 5 miles an hour, but they have some very sophisticated cameras. A lot of class-leading technology in this vehicle. Again, they say that, but for me to go through and compare trim by trim to Tacoma and Colorado, the segment leaders, it would take forever. It'd be a 50-minute video, but you know, I'm going to take Nissan's word at it. They have competitive advantages, otherwise they wouldn't tell us. I mean, the biggest one is obviously the engine horsepower, 310. Wanted to give you guys an idea of the acceleration on this vehicle. It's pretty good. It's not going to break any speed records, but it is much better than the outgoing model. And as long as we're here, we'll talk a little bit about the truck. I think so far so good. It's all been kind of highway driving, and definitely more comfortable than a Tacoma. Tacoma's starting to show its age a little bit, but I'm a Toyota guy. I own 2 Land Cruisers, so I'm always going to be partial to Toyotas. But you know, it's been 17 years since Nissan has updated the Frontier. It looks good, it drives good, a lot of great technology. You know, things like standard rear disc brakes, whereas the Tacoma still has drum brakes. It seems very antiquated, but you know, when Toyota has 30+% share of the market with the Tacoma, they don't really need to make a change. So.
Put it in 4 low, so put it in neutral.
Yep, got it.
Now let's make sure it does. Yep, you're good.
All right.
And your axle locks on the bottom there, that bottom button right there. So,
just hold it.
Yeah,
Okay.
just push it in, it should be.
Okay. All right. So what he just had us do was we put it in neutral, go back to drive now. And by doing that, you go from 2-wheel drive to 4 high, and then you push it in, you get in 4 low. And then the differential lock is in the lower left here. You can't see that. You also, all this information is on the multi-information display, which is pretty slick. Gives you your angles. We're at about 2 degrees right now. And you get automatically the cameras roll in. So this is the top of the line, about $43,000. I'm not going to say, even Nissan, I asked him last night, this is not exactly a TRD Pro, but, TRD, off-road, TRD Sport, kind of in that range, which is probably good for 98% of what you need to do. It does not have something like crawl control, but it's got hill descent control. Some people think crawl control is kind of a gimmick and almost cheating, but I think it's great technology and something that more and more car companies are starting to incorporate. So we'll stay relatively close to this black Pro 4X. This is to give some distance, but I want you to kind of see the terrain here. We'll move the camera around a little bit. Whenever I do these off-road videos, people say, oh, I could do this in my Civic. No, you can't do this in your Civic. It would bottom out. You'd lose a bumper. So far it's been relatively mild, but I'm sure it's going to get to a point where you need a truck. You need something of this ruggedness. So what they also want us to do is put it into second gear. So we'll do that by moving over, so that's going to lock it in. They don't want us in first because that might create too much spin and you can get stuck. They don't want us in third or fourth because you might not get enough momentum going. So, I'm not going to call myself an off-road expert, but I've done enough of these to know that it's all about momentum. Just steady. Steady is good, as opposed to punching it, and that's when you can start to get in trouble, get sideways, and then get stuck, which is not really fun. So I'm going to kind of reposition the camera a little bit. I'm going to move the steering wheel up. That way you can kind of get a visual of what's on the gauges, the multi-information display, and kind of where we're going. So we could see that right now it says 0 degrees, but I don't think that's quite accurate. But right over here on the right side is where it shows you that you're in 4x4 low, and over here on the left side you'll see differential lock. Here we go. These exercises that car companies do during launches, they're very controlled. And what I mean by that is, they obviously came out here weeks and weeks ago. They tested it. They made sure that nothing was going to go wrong. I mean, they're not going to put us in a situation that's not going to show the vehicle in a good light. I don't care if it's a track event, if it's an off-road event, if it's a fuel economy event, whatever it is. They want us to get good results. This truck is very impressive so far. The Tacoma is impressive. The Colorado is impressive. The Ranger is impressive. Everything in this segment is quite capable, especially for something like this. And what's nice about this segment now is that it's a real segment. You've got 4 or 5 trucks that are all very capable. They're all very they're similar in size, similar in price. This one has the most horsepower at 310. It also has a 9-speed transmission, which is nice. But obviously the newer the truck, usually the better the options and the features. But it's a nice truck. Frontier is a great nameplate. Really, the history of the Frontier goes back, to 1959 is when the first Nissan truck was. I mean, they had the hard body trucks of the 80s and 90s. They've had Frontier now for the last 17 years, and it's a solid truck. People that own them love them, and I think there's a lot of pent-up demand for this vehicle, and I think it's going to do great. They said they're estimating about 70,000 units a year. We'll see. They might do even better than that. So I'm gonna give them a little bit of room, because this is where you want that momentum, is going up the hill. And this is a pretty decent grade. I'll see if I can get the here it says 3 degrees, but it's clearly a lot more than 3 degrees. Let's turn the wheel here. Oh, 11 degrees. Okay, I was reading the wrong thing. It's down here below 12 degrees now. Let's see what's the steepest we can get. We should go up a little bit more. $13 degrees. So it's a decent. I think we got something a little steeper coming. We might not get past 13 degrees, but still, it's a decent. It's not 30 degrees like we've done some things in the past with Range Rover and Land Rover and whatnot. But it's still it's a good test for the truck. I guess when you're going less than a certain speed. So I'm going to go a little slow just so you could see the camera in action. This is really quite helpful if you're by yourself, you don't have a spotter. I mean, some people, old school, are going to say this is cheating, but there's technology out there. Might as well take advantage of it. It looks cool, gives you a lot of good feedback, and why not? As a brand, Nissan is really on a roll. The new Sentra, the new Rogue, the new Armada, everything they've been doing lately is better. Clearly, they're putting more money, more effort into product, and that's really what counts. You know, they're trying not to be this rental car company like they have been in the past, and trying to become really a true competitor to Honda, Toyota, and of course the big three. And I think they've done a great job with this. We are really impressed. So far, the feedback I've heard from other journalists as well, just how good it is on road, off road, the technology inside, really great packaging. I'm not going to sit there and tell you buy this over the Tacoma or the Colorado or the Ranger. That's going to be up to you, whatever the best price you can get. Right now, the market is really tough, and you're not getting some big discounts on trucks like you used to in the past. But let's wait a little bit. I think the market will catch up with the demand, and once that happens, who knows? Nissan may get even more market share than they think. I'm Ron Doran. Thanks for watching. See you next time on The Driver's Seat.